country, the election laws, when we talk about the election, Article 324 to Article 329 deals with the election system in our country, and the constitution provides provisions. Constitution empowers the parliament to enact laws relating to the election system, election process in our country. Therefore, um, under the election laws, there are three laws. One is a RPA 1950, RPA 1951. RPA is a Representation of People Act of 1950, Representation of People Act of 1951, and also there is a one more law, that is Delimitation Act of 1952. A Delimitation Act of 1952, which was later amended, and new amendments were made, including purpose of including more provisions into it in 2002, which was made a Delimitation Act of 2002. Well, now moving ahead, we will now talk about what is this RPA 1950 and RPA 1951, which is the most important laws in the election system. Since currently there are many states in our country, many states, including the Lok Sabha election, including the both the House of the Parliament, and as well as including the Lok Sabha, and the many state legislative assemblies elections are conducting all across the various states. For example, Sikkim, for example, Manipur, for example, Manipur, so on. Therefore, now we are going to talk about what is this RPA 1950 and RPA 1951 and Delimitation Act of 2002 in quick. Okay, so RPA Act of 1951 provides for what? It provides for the four provisions on the qualification of the voter, preparation of the electoral roll, and delimitation of the constitutions and electoral seats in the parliament and the state legislature, and as well as the state legislative council, which means, therefore, see, RPA consists of the parts and schedules. Parts and schedules are there are parts. There are five parts and the seven schedules. In the RPA, when we see, if you talk about the parts, the part one consists of preliminary, part two consists of election seats and delimitation of constituencies, part 2A officers like the chief electoral officer, part 2B, that is a electoral roll for the parliamentary constituency, part 3 for the electoral roll for the assembly constituency, part 4 for the electoral roll for the council constituency, and part 5 is the general provisions. Well, moving ahead with the schedules of the various schedules. Schedule 1 consists of allocation of seats in the House of the People. Schedule 2, total number of seats in the state legislative assembly. Schedule 3 is allocation of seat in the legislative council. Schedule 4, allocation local authorities were used for the purpose of the election for legislative council. And schedule 5 was repealed by the Government of Union Territory Act of 1963. Schedule 6, which was repealed, which consists of the this schedule provision under this sixth schedule, was repealed by the Represent People Act Amendment Act of 1956, and schedule was repealed by the same act. Therefore, now when we see RPA Act of 1951, RPA did not contain all the provision. Since RPA 50 did not contain all the provision relating to the election, but this act provided for the actual conduct of election to both the House of the Parliament and to House of the Legislature. So this act also deals with the details like qualification, disqualification of member of both Houses of the Parliament and the State Legislature. So the rules of mode of the conduct of the election is given below. For example, actual mode of conduct of election, administration for the conducting election, electoral poll, electoral offences, election disputes, by-election, restricting political parties. Now, when we see, RPA contains the 13th part, which is further divided into various sections, which totals to 171 sections. Part 1, preliminary. Part 2, qualification, disqualification. Part 3, notification of general election. Part 4, the administration for the conduct of election. Part 4A, for the registration of the political parties recognized. And Part 5, for the conduction of the election. Part 5A, for the supply of the material to the candidate belonging to the recognized political parties. 6, for disputes regarding the election. 7, for the Part 7, for the corrupt practice and the electoral election offences, various offences. And part of the disqualification. Part 9 for the by-election, 10 for the miscellaneous, and the 11 for the general provisions under the RPA. Well, moving ahead, some of the most important sections, as I said, one of the most important sections in the Constitution is the Chief Electoral Officer. The provision relating to the Chief Electoral Officer is provided in the 13A section, and corrupt practices are included in the 123 section, and disqualification under 8 section 8. Therefore, this is one of crux or a quick revision on the RPA 50 and 51. Thank you.